Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson and members of the committee. I'm A.J. Singletary, Chair of GLOVE, DC's LGBT Anti-Violence Task Force. I have with me Holly Goldman, a leader in GLOVE and also on the DC Center's Board of Directors. GLOVE very much appreciates your focus on the problem of hate crimes in the District of Columbia and your work for the safety and security of all Washingtonians. Today, we'll update you on progress with the Metropolitan Police Department and the U.S. Attorney's Office. However, I also want to take this opportunity to put in context what is happening in the streets of Washington. I'll first recount a story of violence from our streets, and then I'll show you the statistical situation of our city. Everyone in this room and everyone listening should know these numbers, these statistics. Every single number is a person. Every number is a brother, a sister, a son and daughter. This is just one of those experiences. On Monday evening in March, at the intersection of Georgia Avenue and Irving Street Northwest, a 29-year-old gay man was brutally assaulted in two related incidents after getting out of a cab in front of Market 77. The first attack came from behind by surprise, as a number of assailants grabbed him and pulled him backward, hitting him repeatedly. The victim was dragged down the sidewalk by his feet while he clawed at the ground, trying to escape. Witnesses and the victim stated that anti-gay slurs were part of the attack. As the first attack ended, the victim called his partner, who was at home a block away, to seek help. While on the phone, the victim was assaulted again and robbed. He was jerked around by his briefcase, which was wrapped around his neck twice. He and the cell phone were thrown to the ground, and as his partner listened, the victim was robbed of all of his belongings. One of the attackers then kicked the victim in the face at least twice. The victim felt lost, and while calling his partner, could only think that death was imminent. Moments later, the cell phone was picked up by one of the assailants, turned off, and stolen. The victim spent 4 days in the ICU at GW Hospital. His jaw was shattered in 2 places. After 2 surgeries, he now has permanent titanium plates holding his lower jaw together. In addition, his jaw was wired shut for over a month. For a member of Washington's LGBT community, attacks such as this are all too common. We must put an end to them. Now to switch to a broader picture of hate crimes in Washington. From a historical perspective, hate crimes in Washington have become worse. Take 2009, for instance. Out of all crimes reported nationally, 18.5% were attributed to the anti-LGBT violence. Now compare that to the situation in Washington in 2009. In Washington, a full 85% of hate crimes were anti-LGBT violence. This is a horrifying statistic in our nation's capital. When we discuss this fact, a point often brought up is that DC has a high per capita LGBT population. Compare Washington's 2009 numbers with those of San Francisco, the highest per capita LGBT population in the country. While San Francisco experienced a 32% share of anti-LGBT violence, DC experienced 85%. And since 2009, the problem has not only persisted, but become worse. Anti-LGBT violence has only increased over time, and 2011 saw the highest number of crimes since we've been tracking them. Between 2005 and 2011, anti-LGBT violence increased by 86%. And not only that, hate crimes across all categories were the highest ever. Between 2009 and 2011, hate crimes across all categories more than doubled. So that brings us to today. Compared to this time last year, anti-LGBT violence is up 67%. Washington remains the city with the highest rate of anti-LGBT violence in the nation, and the problem only becomes worse. Additionally, I want to make clear the point that violence against the LGBT community involves many forms, not all of which are classified as hate crimes. We must work to stop all anti-LGBT violence, which the community is experiencing at an alarming rate. We have to fix this problem. It requires continual, unwavering focus to move to a safer city for all Washingtonians. I'll now turn it over to Holly.
Thank you. An important overarching point to make is that many members of the LGBT community still do not feel comfortable reporting crimes or even generally working with the police. This problem is most prevalent among underrepresented groups, including the transgender community and communities of color. A major partner to fix this problem is, of course, the Metropolitan Police Department. To date, we have seen improvement and general concern from MPD leadership regarding anti-LGBT violence. We appreciate these efforts and congratulate Chief Lanier, Assistant Chief Grooms, Deputy Mayor Quander, and others on this progress. Still, more work is yet to be done. First, the Metropolitan Police Department must involve community groups in developing a professional training program for its Special Liaison Unit and Gay and Lesbian Liaison Unit officers. MPD must also revise its overall sensitivity training provided to all officers to better address the issues facing the Washington LGBT community. The training issue is not a new one. GLOVE is involved with other community groups to voluntarily train officers involved on LGBT issues, and we continue to support this initiative. Still, MPD should allocate resources for this endeavor and broaden this training to a regular, better organized professional endeavor. And we still call for a revision to the general sensitivity training for all officers, not just Special Liaison Unit officers. This should include detectives as well as members of the command staff. GLOVE provided feedback to MPD on their current sensitivity training and earlier this year. We appreciate MPD listening to our concerns, and we would welcome the chance to see the current state of sensitivity training and discuss the issue further. Second, Chief Lanier recently asked a task force of the Anti-Defamation League, Human Rights Campaign, National Center for Transgender Equality, and the Leadership Council on Civil and Human Rights to lead a study of MPD and its handling of hate crimes. These national organizations are great advocates for the national LGBT community. Still, we need to state for the record that the study must include local first responder organizations. Local first responders know the Washington hate crime issue very well and have a strong history of MPD policies and practices. Local involvement must not just be in acknowledgments or an interview, but must rather be decisional in terms of the study's results. GLOVE calls on MPD to establish a local advisory board to work in tandem with the task force to complete the study. Third, MPD's critical incident team must be better organized with stronger leadership. The current roles of MPD, the mayor's office, and community groups are confusing at best and dysfunctional at worst. GLOVE has actively participated in the critical incident team and would like to see MPD take stronger proactive leadership with the group. At a recent meeting with community groups, Chief Lanier indicated that this would be a priority in the coming months. Overall, GLOVE would like to see MPD take a more proactive approach in solving crime in the city, rather than reacting to upticks in hate crimes and responding as necessary. MPD should be working to prevent hate crimes from ever happening in the first place. This is not only evident in the current mediocre leadership of the critical incident team, but is also evident in the recent hate crimes report released earlier this month. MPD needs a proactive strategy to reduce hate crimes, and such a plan was not apparent in the 2012 hate crimes report. Fourth, I will give an update on our work with the U.S. Attorney's Office. GLOVE looks forward to partnering with the U.S. Attorney's Office to develop a training program on LGBT issues for their attorneys and detectives. This is an initiative for which we have been stating the need for years, and we are pleased it is moving forward. However, there is continued perception in the community that hate crimes are not being pursued aggressively by the U.S. Attorney's Office. GLOVE now calls on the U.S. Attorney's Office to provide a means of reporting and tracking hate crimes to community leaders and the general public. MPD now accomplishes this with posting statistics online and providing community alerts. Unfortunately, once crimes reach the USAO, public information is lost and cases become secretive. Even a general periodic report of the number of bias-related cases investigated, those solved and or dismissed cases pled out, and other parameters would be more effective than the lack of information that the USAO currently provides. This would enhance the transparency of the USAO, allowing the public to know how effectively crimes against the community are prosecuted in our legal system. While improvements both with MPD and the USAO have been made, yet more is still to be accomplished. Glove looks forward to working with the Metropolitan Police Department and the U.S. Attorney's Office in continuing to make our community safer. The safety of all residents of Washington depends on it.
Is the critical incident team functioning as robustly as it should be?
No. The critical incident team over time has gone through ebbs and flows. And oftentimes it's surrounded major incidents that have happened in the community. It's kind of the way activism works. A lot of people will get involved and really passionate and serious when something major happens. The issue is to really sustain that over time. And granted, there is a balance of making sure community groups provide our own representation and we have sustained influence over time, but a lot of it comes from the leadership of MPD. And the mayor's office is involved, Jeffrey Richardson's involved with the group as well. There's been kind of a confusing leadership role between Jeff and between MPD that really in the recent past few months has just kind of caused the attendance to fall off and the roles to be confusing and for people not to really know what the true roles of the CIT are.
I have no other questions for either of you. Thank you very much. Not just for your testimony, but for the work that Glove's been doing, because I really think it's important.
Thank you.
Thank you.